Hello and welcome to MBKM Models. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and follow for more great aircraft documentaries and model build videos. Even became lost in a thunderstorm and briefly stuck in the mud after a diversionary landing at the Albury racecourse on the last leg of the journey. The Douglas DC-3 is a propeller-driven airliner manufactured by the Douglas Aircraft Company, which had a lasting effect on the airline industry in the 1930s to 1940s and World War II. It was developed as a larger, improved 14-bed sleeper version of the Douglas DC-2. It is a low-wing metal monoplane with conventional landing gear, powered by two radial piston engines of 1,000 to 1,200 horsepower, 750 to 890 kilowatts. Although the DC-3s originally built for civil service had the Wright R1820 Cyclone, later civilian DC-3s used the Pratt & Whitney R1830 Twin Wasp engine. The DC-3 has a cruising speed of 207 miles per hour, a capacity of 21 to 32 passengers or 6,000 pounds of cargo, and a range of 1,500 miles and can operate from short runways. The DC-3 had many exceptional qualities compared to previous aircraft. It was fast, had a good range, was more reliable, and carried passengers in greater comfort. Before the war, it pioneered many air travel routes. It was able to cross the continental United States from New York to Los Angeles in 18 hours, with only 3 stops. It is one of the first airliners that could profitably carry only passengers without relying on mail subsidies. Following the war, the airliner market was flooded with surplus transport aircraft, and the DC-3 was no longer competitive due to its inadequate size and slow speed. It was made obsolete on main routes by more advanced types such as the Douglas DC-4 and Lockheed Constellation, but the design proved adaptable and useful on less commercially demanding routes. Civilian DC-3 production ended in 1943 at 607 aircraft. Military versions, including the C-47 Skytrain, the Dakota in British RAF service, and Soviet and Japanese built versions, brought total production to over 16,000. Many continue to be used in a variety of niche roles. 2,000 DC-3s and military derivatives were estimated to be still flying in 2013. By 2017, more than 300 were still flying. As of 2023, it is estimated about 150 are still flying. DC stands for Douglas Commercial. The DC-3 was the culmination of a development effort that began after an inquiry from Transcontinental and Western Airlines, TWA, to Donald Douglas. TWA's rival in transcontinental air service, United Airlines, was starting service with the Boeing 247, and Boeing refused to sell any 247s to other airlines until United's order for 60 aircraft had been filled. TWA asked Douglas to design and build an aircraft that would allow TWA to compete with United. The Douglas design, the 1933 DC-1, was promising and led to the DC-2 in 1934. The DC-2 was a success, but with room for improvement. The DC-3 resulted from a marathon telephone call from American Airlines Chief Executive Officer C.R. Smith to Donald Douglas, when Smith persuaded a reluctant Douglas to design a sleeper aircraft based on the DC-2 to replace American's Curtiss Condor II biplanes. The DC-2's cabin was 66 inches wide, too narrow for side-by-side berths. Douglas agreed to go ahead with development only after Smith informed him of American's intention to purchase 20 aircraft. The new aircraft was engineered by a team led by Chief Engineer Arthur E. Raymond over the next 2 years, and the prototype DST, Douglas Sleeper Transport, first flew on December 17, 1935, the 32nd anniversary of the Wright brothers' flight at Kitty Hawk, with Douglas Chief Test Pilot Carl Cover at the controls. Its cabin was 92 inches wide, and a version with 21 seats instead of the 14 to 16 sleeping berths of the DST was given the designation DC-3. No prototype was built, and the first DC-3 built followed 7 DSTs off the production line for delivery to American Airlines. The DC-3 and DST popularized air travel in the United States. Eastbound transcontinental flights could cross the US in about 15 hours, with 3 refueling stops, while westbound trips against the wind took 17 and a half hours. A few years earlier, such a trip entailed short hops in slower and shorter range aircraft during the day, coupled with train travel overnight. Several radial engines were offered for the DC-3. Early production civilian aircraft used either the 9-cylinder Wright R1820 Cyclone 9 or the 14-cylinder Pratt & Whitney R1830 Twin Wasp, but the Twin Wasp was chosen for most military versions and was also used by most DC-3s converted from military service. 5 DC-3 Super DC-3s with Pratt & Whitney R2000 Twin Wasps were built in the late 1940s, 3 of which entered airline service. Total production, including all military variants, was 16,079. More than 400 remained in commercial service in 1998. Production was 607 civilian variants, 10,048 military C-47 and C-53 derivatives built at Santa Monica, California, Long Beach, California, and Oklahoma City. 4,937 built under license in the Soviet Union from 1939 to 1950 as the Lusinov Li-2, NATO reporting name CAB. 487 Mitsubishi Kinsei engine aircraft built by Showa and Nakajima in Japan from 1939 to 1945 as the L2D Type O transport, Allied codename Tubby. Production of the DSTs ended in mid-1941 and civilian DC-3 production ended in early 1943, although dozens of the DSTs and DS-3s ordered by airlines that were produced between 1941 and 1943 were pressed into US military service while still on the production line. Military versions were produced until the end of the war in 1945. A larger, more powerful Super DC-3 was launched in 1949 to positive reviews. The civilian market was flooded with second-hand C-47s, many of which were converted to passenger and cargo versions. Only 5 Super DC-3s were built and 3 of them were delivered for commercial use. The prototype Super DC-3 served the US Navy with the designation YC-129 alongside 100 R-4Ds that had been upgraded to the Super DC-3 specifications. From the early 1950s, some DC-3s were modified to use Rolls-Royce. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and until next time.